It's Submitting Live with Ty Gay and Chase Hill.
Hello, everybody. What's up? Ty and Chase on the Submitting Live podcast. Whee!
We're actually like in a studio now. We have a poster and everything behind us.
Is it a studio or is it the closet that we used to have stuff in that we are now saying, oh, we're not supposed to talk about that?
They don't know that.
We don't talk about Fight Club.
No, first rule about Fight Club.
So, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you? How's your weekend?
ADCC.
ADCC? You spent all weekend?
I haven't been able to watch enough of it. I don't think you can watch enough. For those that don't know, ADCC is kind of like the Olympics of grappling. And it's going on right now, but unfortunately, when you have to watch it, if you want to watch it in real time, you have to get up at like 4 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah, 4 or 3 in the morning. It was in Finland this year.
Oh, fun. So,
That was cool. There's some good matches. I've watched some.
Oh, my Lord.
They're saying that's one of the best ones that's ever been.
Gordon Ryan. Holy crap, that kid. Wow. But we'll probably talk more about that once this is all done, it's all settled, and we can look at it and
talk more in detail about some matches that we saw.
Man, I mean, wow, some amazing stuff that went on. Just crazy stuff. Flying triangle, you see that thing? Great. But moving on. Don't get me stuck on that. I will only talk about Jiu-Jitsu stuff here. So
we just want to let you guys know that we appreciate all your support. The first episode, it downloaded almost 200 episodes.
Yeah, we thought
it's freaking cool.
We would keep going if we got more than 2?
Yeah, our goal was to get more than 2.
We made it.
And we accomplished that. Success. So we actually added a couple zeros at the end of 2.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That was cool.
Chase punched me in the eye. Can you see this? For those of you that can't see me right now.
It wasn't my doing. I wouldn't be here if I punched him in the eye.
I either have eyeshadow on or somebody punched me in the eye. Maybe both. Yep.
That's what you get for being a jiu-jitsu instructor?
Yeah, sometimes you take one for the team, and I did pretty bad. So, yeah, sometimes when you're down there leg locking people, you're right there by their feet because you're trying to grab their feet, and they sometimes kick their feet in your face.
Yes. Well, you've been in a leg lock theme right now. You've been trying to grab everyone's toes. You're teaching it a lot, so people are trying to kick out of it now.
I'm just back into the whole. It used to. I think we were going to talk about this, but yeah, I used to. Leg locks were kind of looked down upon, and I've been doing them since the late '90s, and even though people would look down on it, it was still a way that we could still win. So we didn't care what you called us. They would call us the names like I think it was Padaiva, something like that. I think it means redneck. I'm not sure. I'm not really good with Portuguese. Eu entendi pouco de português. Means I understand very little Portuguese. That's really all I ever memorized. That and some of the cool things like Montaleon. Fun. So, omoplata. Yeah, I can sound like I'm almost from there when I just say 1 or 2 words. It's great.
So you had a good week?
It's pretty amazing.
Everything's good besides getting a black eye.
Yeah, the black eye was worth it. So it was pretty good.
That's cool.
I got sick there for a couple of days.
Yeah, you were.
I had a fever,
What'd you have?
which was awful.
There's been a thing kind of going around in this area.
I don't know. It was not very fun. We didn't actually have our podcast when we were supposed to because our producer over there, Brad Reed, was sick first, and then I was sick. Yep. Luckily, it was 2 different kinds of sickness. You were throwing up, weren't you, Brad? Bleh.
Oh, yeah. It was nasty.
Bleh. That's my least favorite thing to do, throw up.
No. I was fine. Screw you guys. I was fine. I didn't get sick.
I'm surprised. It was good because I grappled with you like the same day that I grappled with the dude that we know that's here that was sick. One of our other instructors. Found out the next day. It's like, oh, I'm sick.
So yeah, we're like a week behind, but that's okay.
Yeah, story of my life.
You guys aren't on any timeline yet. Anyway, we don't have you with any expectations.
True. Speaking of timeline, though, I don't like podcasts to go on very long. So let's chop. What are we going to talk about?
Want to get into it?
Yes.
Well.
What do we? Some people have asked. We do this thing. We mine for information from you guys. We'll post things periodically on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and ask you what you would like for us to talk about. So we've picked a few of those things that we figured would be prudent to being the second podcast.
If you guys don't follow those pages, make sure you do because we'll post questions.
Yes,
you guys can answer them. Send us questions.
Yeah. So we want it's all based on what you guys want to hear. So. So a lot of people have asked just like what your story is and, where the hell you've come from. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah. So that's the thing. I don't have as big of a name as you, so everyone knows who you are.
No, your name is quite longer than mine. If you put it up against mine, I think it is a bigger name.
Yeah,
TY. No.
But yours is gay, though.
Oh, can't get bigger than that, ladies and gentlemen.
But, yeah. Well, I met you, 2009. It's been 8 years this fall. I've been training jiu-jitsu now.
Ooh, I'm getting old.
Yeah, I met you fall 2009. Came in here. I was like 18. Started jiu-jitsu. I was young and small. I'm still small, but a little bigger.
You were really small. Yeah.
I was pretty small. And, I was interested in just doing something different outside. I had graduated high school, and I just wanted to train a little bit. I was always an MMA fan, but I had never done any martial arts training like you had. I know you did martial arts training when you were a kid and everything, but I had never done anything.
Right.
So this was jiu-jitsu was my first and only martial art I've ever done.
It's pretty cool.
So I came in and, I actually think I even did an MMA class with you first. That's when you had MMA back in the day.
Probably, yeah.
Had MMA back in the day.
Or NHB,
Valley 2,
I think.
Yeah, NHB. And then I just started training, and then you kind of asked me to be an instructor because I hung around long enough with you, and you asked me to start training. So now it's been 8 years this fall. So I literally just came in. Our school's in Edmond, Oklahoma, where Thai school is. Red Line is located in Edmond, so that's where I'm from. So I showed up. It was a school in Edmond, and here we are now. Now we're choking each other out.
Why did you come to the school, through the academy? What was the reason?
Actually, I was referred to you by somebody. I had a friend that had done an MMA class here, I believe. And, now here in Edmond especially, there's we have 6 jiu-jitsu schools in Edmond.
I think so, yeah.
There's a lot,
crazy.
But I think at that time, back in 2009, only eight or so years ago, there was only, I think, you and maybe one other school.
In Edmond, I don't know if there was another school in Edmond or not. I was the first jiu-jitsu school here, but I can't remember when the other ones started to happen. Most of the schools that are around here started with me at some point in time. There's I think one that hasn't, but the majority have. I think it's great.
Well, that was the main reason. I had a friend that had came here, and you were close to the area, and then obviously I just really enjoyed how you had a class taught, and then once I learned, I think the first time is you showed me. My very first class was twisting arm control. So if you guys aren't jiu-jitsu people, it's basically a technique where you're able to control somebody, you get on top of them, hold them down with a little arm control, and that was the first thing you ever showed, and I was like, man, I could actually hold. I was a small kid. I was smaller than I am now. I was probably maybe 125, 130 pounds or something.
If that, yeah.
And I could hold someone down and then break their arm. I was
Twisting
so
arm
cool.
Control, yeah.
It was so cool to me.
Also known as the gift wrap or the who's your daddy position.
Who's your daddy, yes. So after that, man, I was hooked. I was eating with jiu-jitsu, but, I did take a little break there I think everyone does for a minute, from about 18 to 19-ish, 20. I was coming off and on, but then I remember what really set me in is when you were like, hey, man, I want you to be an instructor, and then kind of came in, and ever since then I started working the front desk for you, started doing some things like that, which is really cool. You have a cool story about who and a bunch of people that have started out working front desk.
Front desk job, man. It's turn a front desk job into a dream job. Yeah, that's I've had that talk several times. There's been a bunch of people I've known that have really just started at the bottom, at the desk, and ended up being at the top. Henry Aiken's the guy that got me started in jiu-jitsu, being one of them. Yeah, he started at Hickson's desk, working the desk up front and stuff. And for our instructors, whenever I see somebody that has potential, I like to talk to them and say, hey, I think that you have the potential, whatever. But that doesn't mean they're automatically an instructor. You have to go through hoops of fire to become an instructor at our academy. Back in the day, we were going still to the Gracie Academy and testing everybody when you came on board.
And I went through that.
So you had to go through that whole Gracie Academy thing. Now we have our own certification program that's very similar to the Gracies, I would say, but we have other details in ours that are really important, I think, for our demographic and for kind of the brand of jiu-jitsu that we
I think it's
selling.
It's just more centralized for our school.
Yeah.
Now, the ICP and the Gracie Academy one is great, and they give you a lot of good concepts and ideas. But ours is just for what we need as a business.
Correct.
So it's still good. It gives our instructors more of a way to get in and get out. They don't have to travel to California as much.
100%.
But yeah, so
now you're a brown belt.
I am.
Soon will be
I didn't say that.
Belt,
I trained for 8 years, and I actually did make it to brown belt. It's not like I trained off and on and never made it to anything. So
so it's
now I'm one of your head instructors, and I teach. I don't know,
a lot.
I teach about 7 to 8 group classes a week.
It's pretty much.
And
you have another job where you do some fitness training stuff, right?
My actual, I guess, what I went to school for is I have a degree in exercise science, kinesiology. And then I have a really fancy title. I'm a certified exercise physiologist.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Call me professor then.
Right. So, but
You can't ever call me Ty again. I'll call you by that title. You can call me professor.
Professor.
I won't ever be able to remember yours, but
That's all right.
Can we come up with something shorter?
Yeah. But so, yeah, that's what I do. I do that during the day, which is pretty cool because it's pretty flexible. I'm able to schedule. I see clients through a weekly basis, so I'm able to schedule them around my jiu-jitsu training. And I also teach, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours a week of private lessons as well too for you. So
It's true.
So between both those, I mean, I'm in jiu-jitsu or exercise or fitness. So if you guys ever have fitness questions, send them our way, and I will try my best to if they're jiu-jitsu oriented, I can bounce them off Ty, but I can give you the somewhat smallest idea of how it works physiologically wise.
Yeah,
so,
it's great.
Be cool. Your jiu-jitsu story is way cooler than mine. And I think the difference between, I was talking to somebody this the other day in class, is like my jiu-jitsu story is very centralized. So what I mean by that is I was able to come to one place. I've gotten all my training from you.
Right.
And someone asked me your story, and I was like, well, do you have like 30 minutes?
Yeah, right.
Because your story is much different. You couldn't go to one place and just get your black belt. I mean, you had to.
Yeah, there wasn't really a place like that.
You've been learning on the go, basically. You've had to learn from people.
Yeah, it was kind of hard in the beginning. There just wasn't schools. For one, there wasn't the internet. Not like we have it now. There wasn't YouTube and things like that. We didn't have the same kind of, bandwidth back then. So dial-up wasn't as easy to look at jiu-jitsu moves, I guess. But, so it was like 97 is when I kind of got started in jiu-jitsu. And, we'll have to do this. There's a very brief history here. So I started.
What's the first time you saw jiu-jitsu?
I saw jiu-jitsu. A friend of mine brought over a videotape. He was like, dude, check out this video. It was a VHS tape.
A VHS tape, not a DVD.
No, it was a VHS tape. And it was UFC 1. And it was actually some tapes that Lovato Sr. had. So if you don't know who Rafael Lovato is, Rafael Lovato Jr. is like the most decorated American jiu-jitsu guy out there. And his dad, Senior Lovato, ran a school called MAI at the time. And somehow one of my friends ended up with some tapes that those guys were circulating around, which was the UFC 1 and 2, I think. He brought it over to the house and let me watch that, and I was like, oh my God. So I definitely wanted to start training that at that point. And at the time, I didn't have very much money and stuff, and I was in a band that was traveling around called Lure back in the day. And so I kind of just, and those guys there weren't even really training jiu-jitsu that much. Lovato wasn't a blue belt or anything yet. So
how old was Junior?
Junior was just a kid. So I don't know. He was very young at the time. Just looked like a kid. And not like he does now, like a straight killer.
Like a monster. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I got to watch some of those tapes, and then shortly thereafter that, the UFC 4 happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Got to see that. That was really crazy. And then shortly thereafter that, I don't know how many years later, it wasn't too much longer than that, is when I met Henry. And I met Henry backstage at a Tool concert, because I was a big rock and roll fan, obviously. It was a band called Tool. The singer Maynard does jiu-jitsu and had Henry going with them on tour to teach him jiu-jitsu. And so...
Because Maynard trained at Hickson's.
Because Maynard trained at Hickson's Academy, that's right. And so did Henry at the time. So he brought Henry on the road with him. And that was his main dude, his main security guy for a long time. And Henry was getting dropped off in Oklahoma off of one of the tours. And so while he was in Oklahoma, showed me some just basic stuff that was considered the basics from Hickson's Academy at the time. Back then, those moves were really hidden, and Henry wasn't allowed to really say that he was teaching me any of that stuff. It was so taboo, because Hickson was very secretive back then. Nowadays, he's trying to show all the secrets now because he knows it's going to be lost if he doesn't. So, totally different topic. But so after a while of that, I knew that I had to train somewhere, and there wasn't no real jiu-jitsu schools, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools, around back then. So I went to train at a judo school called USA Stars. They had a lot of good Olympic guys, and Pat Burst is an Olympic judo coach, and is amazing guy, amazing judo guy and mentor. And there was a bunch of guys there, Tony Akiwa. I mean, so many guys that were just really good at judo, and then they were doing something called combat Jiu-Jitsu back then. It's kind of like a Japanese style Jiu-Jitsu, I guess, but it was very much like the Gracies were in the beginning. Now that I've been in the game for a long time, I can look back and see, like in the Gracie archives and stuff, like what kind of moves they were doing, what was going on. It was very similar to what we were doing back then as well. Frank Trigg was training with us. Guys, I can't remember all the guys. There were several people that ended up doing some stuff later on that were training there, and it was a meat grinder. We were, golly, it was rough.
Because you were training jiu-jitsu with a bunch of judo guys, weren't you?
Yeah, and a bunch of MMA guys. Back then, MMA was just starting to come around, and so there's a bunch of underground stuff.
It was more like no hold bars, right?
Yeah, and something called Shuto people were doing too, which is like this Japanese kind of organization that was going on. It was very much like MMA with a little more pads, maybe. So to train with a lot of those guys coming up, I was pretty young. That was pretty cool, but I wasn't very confident in myself at the time. Jiu-Jitsu was kind of starting to build that in me, but I was just very kind of an insecure kid and just didn't really believe in myself or anything. And there was a guy who had a karate school, I remember, and he asked me if I would be interested in coming to teach some classes at his place. I was kind of hesitant to do so, and I went and did it, and I think he paid me like $20 to come out and teach a class like, I don't know, a couple times a month. But, it was, I was in a band still at the time, a singer in a band, and I had a pivotal point. We'll have to make a whole podcast probably on this, but I'll just cover it briefly. I was working at a pizza place. Like I said, had a few offers to teach some classes with that guy that had offered me some classes, but there was really no interest in doing that because I just didn't really believe in myself. I was with a girl that, probably the wrong girl. Anyway, so I went over to a buddy's house, and they were all doing mushrooms that night. Yep, the magical kind. And I'd done mushrooms before. Sometimes I'd had okay luck with them, not make me feel too sick or whatever. If you don't know, mushrooms will make you feel sick. By the way, I'm not endorsing drug use or anything. I'm just telling you my story, so don't get all bent out of shape over it. So anyway, they were making these shots. It's where you boil the mushrooms up and you make like a shot, like you'd shoot a shot of Jack Daniels or whatever, but it was a shot of magic mushrooms. It was like a 10-gram shot. For those that don't know, most people take about 1 gram or 2 grams, and then you see like colors and stuff and have an experience and whatever. One with nature.
And you took 10?
Yeah, I took 10. And something happened to me. It was a very intense moment. The room blacked out. I'll cover this briefly. The room blacked out, and I was holding on to my girlfriend's hand at the time. I looked down at the hand, and the hand that I was holding turned into the devil's hand, and it got really cold. The whole room blacked out, and I was standing in black sand. I look up, and there is this shape-shifting, like smoke/flame devil, and I think it was a devil. It was shape-shifting. It had this long tail, and it would whip me with the tail. And every time it would whip me, it would shock the living crap out of me. And I would see white, and I'd try to dodge and move, and jump into the sand.
You just couldn't get out of the way?
I couldn't get out of the way, and it kept hitting me. And each time it would hit me, it was like I could feel my life force bar going down. Now, I knew that I had taken mushrooms, so I'm thinking to myself, I must have poisoned myself. And it's getting bad. And then he just kept whipping me with the tail, and he couldn't run in the sand because it's frickin' sand, black sand. Just, it was horrible. And so he hits me again, and I know it is it. This is the last one. I can't take it anymore. He's going to hit me again. I'm going to die. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to die taking mushrooms. I have a horrible bad trip. I'm going to die of the devil killing me. It's going to be horrible. So here it comes, one last hit, and he hit me. He hit me, and I still remember it. It makes me kind of shake. But it killed me. Totally thought that I was dead. I had what some would call an ego death. And a little pinhole happened in the black. Like I was just in nothingness, and a pinhole of just a spot happened. And then out of that spot, opened up the whole room. And there I was in the room with all my friends, and the girl trying to hold my hand. And all my friends were watching a TV show, and everybody was fine except for me. And I went through this horrible, death. I released the girl's hand, and I said, it's over between me and you. And everybody else was still tripping really, really bad, but I was stone cold sober, like completely sober. I'd never been more sober in my entire life. I left the place, went home, didn't do mushrooms, drink a beer for 3 years after that, nothing. But it changed my life because I didn't any longer have some sort of weird thing about, well, you can't go do whatever. I died. So I went to the pizza place and I was like, this is my 2 weeks.
You have like a new form of confidence.
I went to the guy who had offered me a couple of days a week teaching. I was like, hey, here's the thing. I'll teach for you as many days as you'll give me time. And that's what started my teaching journey, which is pretty crazy. And so, yeah, it like scared, I don't know if it scared me into living life more or whatever, but I talk about death a lot, right? And it's because you don't really understand how much of a motivator it is until you get right up to the edge and you feel like you're going to really die. And I really felt like I was going to die, and that I did die. And then after that was kind of like a second lease on life, you know, but without actually having to go through the, you know, I wasn't in a car. You hear people like a car wreck or something.
Having a near-death experience.
Had like, you know, some sort of crazy disease or something, or cancer, and they come to this realization. I was blessed enough not to have any of those horrible things. I just experienced it because I had a 10-gram shot of mushrooms and flipped out a little bit. So it was, at the time, I thought was the greatest mistake of my life, was probably one of the most pivotal points of my life. I won't say it was the greatest, but it was one of the definitely most pivotal point of my life.
Sound like it got you thinking in like a new direction.
Yeah, for sure.
It had like almost
nothing. Ever since then, my work ethic has been just a little bit different. I will push just a little bit longer. I will walk just a little bit further. I think it's a good thing.
So you started teaching out of the karate academy.
Yeah, I did start teaching out of the karate place. Did that for a while.
Did you teach anywhere? Didn't you teach out of I know you've heard this, told me too, but you've also taught at a gymnastics place.
Yeah, so I went from the karate guy's place, teaching there just a little bit. Ended up working for a gymnastics guy, teaching like kicking gym. I taught half gymnastics and half like pseudo karate. We were just kicking in the air and having a lot of fun. I was pretending like I was 5. It was great. So me and a bunch of other 5-year-olds run around jumping like foam pits. It was great. A guy named Steve Honer helped me out. He helped me out a lot. Thank you, Steve. Wasn't for that guy, we probably wouldn't have these mats or a lot of the things. He really hooked me up. He saw something in me and really helped me out financially and with a building and some other things like that. So I went from the gymnastics place, which in the beginning of the gymnastics place, I said, hey, can I, because we weren't doing jiu-jitsu there. I asked Steve Honer, this guy, a friend of mine, owned the gymnastics place, Oklahoma Gold's Gymnastics. So if you guys want to go there, it's great for kids. I asked him, hey, what are you guys doing after this whole place closes? Can I have some space? And he's like, yeah, sure. So after 6 o'clock, he gave me a key and I could do whatever I wanted. I gotten a few mats from a buddy of mine that I knew from USA Stars that had his own little jiu-jitsu thing running. And so I put him in this gymnastics room. It was pink and purple and had a purple boa around the top of the room. So there was feathers all everywhere all the time. But yes, you could come train with Ty Gay in a pink and purple room in the beginning of my career. You had to be extra tough to be there just from what people would say about you.
Were you a blue belt or were you a purple belt?
Like I was a blue belt then, but I ended up getting to know a guy named Leonardo Xavier. He was a guy from Gracie Humata, and he kind of started a thing in his own association. I got underneath of him. I trained with that association under Gracie Humata for 8.5 years. Did that pretty strong, and I did that the whole time I was at the gymnastics place. It was very sport. It was very tournament driven. I got all the way to brown belt in that association. I left that association. Well, that's a whole different probably topic, but I left that association just so I could
for better business purposes. Yeah,
better business purposes, and also Henry Akins is the guy that started me. He had a very special brand of jiu-jitsu, and I called him and asked him, because Hickson was such a secret deal. What do you think I should do? And he told me, you should go directly to the source. Go to the Gracie Academy. And I was like, the Gracie Academy? He goes, yeah, the Gracie Academy. I was like, the one that brought jiu-jitsu here? Yes. And so the odds of you getting a black belt from there are very, very slim. But, again, I'm willing to walk a little bit further. And so we went there. And I actually had to drop down. I didn't have to take my belt off, but I had to go back through everything starting at white belt. All the way to the black belt. And then I got my black belt in 2013. You were there?
I was there. We were in Destin. Mm-hmm. We were at the immersion camp in Destin.
Yeah.
When I started training with you, you were a brown belt. I think you had just left Leo.
Correct.
Or you were very close to doing it.
Yes.
You had just left Leo, but yeah, you were a brown belt for 7 years.
6.
6. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were a brown belt most of the time that I knew you.
Yeah.
I still have known you longer as a brown belt than I have as a black
That's
belt.
right, yeah. That's
Right?
crazy.
So,
But, you can't get tied up in this whole belt thing. I mean, be tied up in your technique. I was happy to be a brown belt and still be able to have good skill,
do you know, this is kind of going into some of our questions, but what do you think is like, everyone always wants to ask, I think, I'll get it from you. What are like people who are struggling in jiu-jitsu, like white belts, maybe that have been training for 6 to 8 months, or newer blue belts, they're now getting smashed, but they have enough technique where they can, no one's taking it easy on them anymore. People are now starting to...
so the main thing is just don't judge your progress on anybody else. It's only you that you should be judging. They're just your own progress. Never worry about anybody else's gains, only yourself, and it will get you a lot further down the line. So it's because whenever you get hurt or you're out for just a little bit and all your other buddies start to get a little bit better than you, that's what you think anyway, it's discouraging. But you got to remember, eventually they're going to have a day off or a day out or whatever too. And as white belts, just try to stay in for a year. If you can stay in for a year, something magical happens and clicks over. We have a program that's designed to keep you in it for a year. But if you're out there and you don't have a program that's designed for that, just give it at least a year of your time. It's really, really worth it. Because once everything starts to click, it becomes a truly beautiful, magical experience.
It's hard.
It is hard. Hey, anything worth having is going to be hard. So you got to get over that part.
And I don't know if I ever told you this, and being, I think, involved in the school as much as the instructor will let you, try to make friends in class. Be a part of the community. If you're not, if you try to exile yourself, hey, I'm only going to come in here for jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to talk to anybody else. I'm not going to try to do that, which I think is pretty hard because most jiu-jitsu people are fairly nice, I feel. But
I agree.
But there are people who, they do certain activities and they're only in it for themselves. They don't care about doing anything outside. But I truly think if you build yourself into the community, it gives you more incentive to stay because you want to have friends. You want to continue doing it because I will tell you this: if one thing that got me to stay jiu-jitsu, I mean, I can't say this for sure, but if I was an instructor, I don't know if I would have stayed. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't say that. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be an instructor as a blue belt underneath you, so I've been teaching as a blue belt. I have been teaching longer than I actually ever was training as a student. Yeah,
that's true.
So I've been an instructor for 6 years, and I've only been training for 8 years.
Yeah, that's great.
So I can't say for me, but if you're involved in the school in some way,
a lot of it, the community, the lifestyle. The lifestyle comes from the community, and the community comes from you being there at the academy. So even if you're hurt or you pulled something or you feel, if you're sick, stay at home.
Yeah.
Don't come up here, please. But if you anything barring that, you should at least come up and be a part, just hang out and be there, what we call smelling the gym air. So it's very important, I think. Stay in the mix. And what you were talking about is part of the community of helping each other out. And I like how Hedon put it, rolling with somebody is like going out to eat 4 times. So it's really, it's a bonding experience, and we're all, trusting each other with our lives, our necks and our arms and our legs and stuff. So that becomes a very bonding experience, and it's really important. And everybody takes care of each other too. It's a community where, not just at my academy, but all over the world. What's great is I can go anywhere in the world and put a little post up on Facebook, hey, I'm looking for whatever, and some jiu-jitsu person will come find me, whatever, give me a place to stay, food, whatever. So my band on the road, same thing. People have come out, drove hours and hours to get to a show to bring us food and do all sorts of things, do maybe a private lesson, and then not even have time to stay for the show. So jiu-jitsu people, jiu-jitsu connection, that whole network of jiu-jitsu people, not talking about a specific flag, just everybody in general, is it's a pretty amazing thing to be a part of.
And typically you'll get, if you're flying on a plane or you're in the airport, you just have a jiu-jitsu shirt on, and someone else trains jiu-jitsu.
Somebody's going to say,
you just get the head nod. You get the head nod or the what's up, or hey, you need anything or you need a ride?
We're like a secret society that's not so secret.
It's weird. I was when we went to some of those Destin camps, I got a ride from some guy. I had no idea, but I knew he was going to the camp, but I never met him before.
Yeah.
I had a jiu-jitsu shirt on.
Yep.
He knew exactly where I was going.
That's all you need.
So
just a jiu-jitsu shirt.
They typically take care of their own. So
We're almost
that was a lot of jiu-jitsu.
We're
though.
almost to the end of our time limit. This is where Brad starts throwing stuff at us, isn't it? And
we're right at 30 minutes. But you want to forecast about what we're going to talk about in the future, though?
Man, what are we going to talk about in the future? Well,
just the topics. just current events.
And stuff. We will cover. There's a bunch of hot button topics that we try not to talk about unless we get enough information to talk about them. So I'm researching some stuff. So people have been asking me about nootropics and stuff. I've been trying out some on it brain stuff, alpha brain, but I haven't had it long enough to be able to talk about it or have been on it long enough. So we'll discuss those things.
We're also gonna we'll eventually get some guests on.
Some really amazing guests, yeah. I'm pretty excited about that. Roy Dean, I think he's going to come in and be on our podcast.
Yeah, he's actually going to be
comes in December sometime.
Yeah, we'll get him on. He's got his own podcast too.
He does. He sure does. Yeah, check out that. It's pretty awesome.
I think it's called the Roy Dean Podcast.
It is called the Roy Dean Podcast. Yeah, pretty original right there, Roy. You can do that when you're Roy Dean, man.
Yeah, when you're Roy Dean.
Ty Gay just doesn't have the same ring to it,
Man, we're Gay Unicorn Podcast. I was trying.
The Mythical Unicorn Podcast. Perfect. So yeah, we'll have him on there. We've got Heat on Grace. He's going to be on there. We're not just trying to do just jiu-jitsu guys.
We've got some music people lined up. Hopefully, you're going to get some of your.
Definitely got some music stuff lined up.
We have some people coming into town for that.
We do. So yeah. Can't talk about it just yet.
No. I'm not announcing it. We got to keep it teasing, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we'll discuss up and coming topics like artificial intelligence and DARPA and some other crazy things. We're also going to have a special podcast devoted just to conspiracy theories.
It's my idea. We're going to pick the top 5 conspiracy theories. Not that we believe in them, FYI. Not that we believe in them. Maybe we do. But we just want to do the top 5 that we want to dive deep into and just argue with each other. So send us.
Brad Reed believes the world's flat. Isn't that right, Brad? We're going to talk about it on the next
I do.
You believe the world's flat?
No.
Tower 7?
I believe anything's possible.
Chemtrails.
Yeah.
Tower 7.
So, yeah, but we'll talk about all that stuff on the next podcast.
So give us
next one, but coming up.
Give us 5. And we may never heard of them, but we'll look into them.
Yeah.
If we like it,
send them our way. Eddie Bravo, come on.
Oh, you dropped a name.
He's a good friend of mine.
I didn't think you were going to drop a name.
He's fine with it. Trust me. He's out there talking about it. He's fine if I talk about him talking about it. He's not fine with it. He'll just leg lock me. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's all fine at the end of the day.
Well, that's good. So make sure if you listen to us, you give us 5 stars.
Yeah.
And make sure you're getting a phone call.
That's my buddy Brandon Lopez.
Brandon called us in the middle of the.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for checking making sure my phone's not turned off. bad host. Yeah. So anyway,
leave us 5 stars.
5 stars. That would.
And we actually did.
Nice.
We actually already have like 6 reviews. So thank you guys for leaving us reviews. The higher you review us, the more we show up in iTunes. The algorithm leaves us. And now we're also on. We're on Stitcher and we're also on Google Play. So if you don't like Apple for whatever reason, you can download it on those devices.
That's right.
Too.
You can also check out our website for our school, redlinejujitsu.com. Mm-hmm. You can also check out my band, Everybody Panic. You can just Google Everybody Panic. It comes up on everything you can think of. We've got new records coming out soon.
Look at that. Are those shirts still for sale?
Yeah, these shirts are for sale because Trump makes you panic.
Whether it's a good way?
Whether you're for him or against him, he's still, making you panic. So that's why he's on our shirt. Isn't that nice? Watch this. Hi, James. Hi, buddy. Okay. I've had too many energy drinks. I'm freaking out. Turn it off!
Man, we went a different road.
All right, goodbye.